What is going on, guys, and welcome back. It is a little bit sunny out. It is pretty early in the morning though. It's like 5:30. Woke up nice and early because I ran out of time on my day off in order to work on the car. So we're gonna jump right into it and show you some progress that I've been making off camera. Okay, and while it may not look like much, I have been doing a lot of work off camera. You can see I had already cleaned up the head a long time ago, in the front of the head. Cleaned up the block a little bit. There is still a little bit of grease I need to try and get in over there. I did try to go through and start doing all these accessory pumps, trying to clean everything up. Did a little bit of the transmission. It's starting to actually look pretty good right here. I cleaned the side of the head where the thermostat housing bolts on. You can see there is some bit of the degreaser still stuck all over these hoses. I do have new ones of those coming. I will go over later while I'm cleaning some parts. Just exactly what I have on order, what I did pick up for the car. I did spend a good amount of money on some parts that I needed just to get this thing finished up. So hopefully we can get it on the road in a couple of months, maybe 2 hopefully. So I can at least bring it to half of the season's worth of car shows. But from there, we're gonna jump over to the workbench and start working on degreasing some of these engine parts that are pretty nasty. And so it is early in the morning, like I said, so there is like nothing but artificial light in here trying to light the space since it's not that bright out yet, so please bear with me with the lighting. It's pretty crappy, but this is what we're gonna try to be working on today. I set aside just a couple of parts that seem like they're the dirtiest and they might be kind of easy to fix today. So we have the fuel rail, so I'm gonna take the injectors out, try to clean those off separately. Thermostat housing, it's looking pretty cruddy here. I'm gonna try to clean inside and out, take this neck off. I do have to try to extract one broke off bolt right there. We'll see how that goes. I'm gonna finish up the EGR valve, finish up this coolant crossover tube, and then I do have the throttle body and the bracket for the back of the intake manifold that just needs to be cleaned up. This one shouldn't be too bad. Shouldn't take too much time to get that rust off. But what I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna start with this guy since I'm gonna do a little bit of recapping, talking about what I have on order, what the plans are for the car. Just be sanding that one down just with like a sandpaper and like an N95 mask. And then once I get a little deeper later, going with the wire wheel, I will throw on like my real mask and some glasses. But I'll throw it on a little video here, set the camera up, and we'll get cleaning. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that the first step or secret as far as restoring parts and having them not rust again is definitely gonna be the preparation. We do need to make sure that when we're cleaning parts that have rust on them, you do try to remove as much of the rust as possible. That way there's less likelihood of it coming back. You can use rust reformers, but those really are standalone, and those do involve using the product on a surface that does have rust to it, because apparently those don't really bond that well to the surface if there is no rust present. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that what we're about to do, the preparation part, is definitely the biggest secret and probably the biggest step in the process. Okay, so the plan for today for this water pipe is gonna be hitting it with 120 grit sandpaper, just to try to get some of that more surface rust off, and then hit it after with 800 grit sandpaper to try to smooth it out and finish it, and then hit it with this. I was reading about people using high temp like grill, like for your outside grill cleaner or paint. And supposedly I've seen guys in Evo forums, old forums, using this as their valve cover color. And apparently it holds on pretty well. So I'm gonna finish the pipe and then eventually seal it with this, and hopefully that'll stop it from rusting in the future. You don't really see this pipe anyway, it's behind the motor. So as long as I know that it's protected, that's really all I'm caring about. But before I jump on cleaning that, I just wanna show in another video coming up soon, I am gonna be refinishing the valve cover. I'll show you a quick clip. You can see, and you've probably already seen in prior videos, that there's a lot of spotting and chipping where the paint has come off on the side too. So it's not looking great. It's looking pretty beat up. So the plan is to use some aircraft stripper that I picked up. I believe I got this at Advanced Auto Parts. So I'm gonna use that. You paint it on, let it sit for a few minutes, and then you're able to remove a lot of the paint that's on there from the factory. Then after I strip the paint off, I will be getting some more 120 grit sandpaper and using some of the 800 to smooth it out, remove any last little bits of paint, and then you kind of just use like a microfiber towel, try to remove any of the old paint or anything you've sanded off. After that, I will be hitting it with a VHT high temp primer. And then for the color, I was considering doing like a baby blue color on the valve cover. I thought that would look nice. I know if this video ever picks up traction, I can see the people in the comments. Yes, I should powder coat it. I should. It's a better product. It lasts longer. It looks nicer. The color choice is a lot more vast, but I'm spending a decent amount of money on parts in this car, and I can't be spending more money on a paint gun and an electric oven I'd have to install in my basement in order to be able to powder coat. Maybe in the future, yes, but for now, that is the route that I have to go. Along with that, another thing I would like to do in the future, but really just kind of can't right now, it does still involve a paint gun, is a friend of mine on Instagram, Zach Lush. If you don't watch his channel, check it out. He has some really good content. He had suggested for things like this, when I was saying in the last video, how to seal it. He was suggesting Cerakoting it. So I started looking into Cerakoting more, and I found an old Smedia video where he was showing Cerakoting exhaust manifolds. And it's really cool. It's basically paint, but it's like high temp. It seals the part in so that rust doesn't get back in and start rusting again. But you can do multiple different colors. He did like a burnt copper or a burnt bronze, I think it was. So I was starting to think that maybe the engine bay would look nice if pieces like that and like the fuel rail and like the blow off valve, if it can be Cerakoted in like a burnt bronze color. I thought it'd look kind of nice. But then it has me second guessing the valve cover choice. Like, should I not do baby blue, or maybe should I do like a flat black or like a gloss black that might match with like the bronze a little bit better? But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what color you think would be the best color for the valve cover. All right, now that I got my mask on, I'm gonna throw it on a time lapse and start trying to get working on removing this rust. Now, as far as the second secret or biggest step that I am gonna show you in this video, it's honestly pretty new to me because I haven't done a ton of rust restoration, but it's definitely by far the biggest game changer as far as restoring parts and being able to get them back to looking fresh again. And that is going to be the wire wheel. So these guys, I've talked about them in the past videos. They are steel wire wheels that are coated in brass. So they're abrasive, but they're not gonna mess the threads up on whatever you're working on or any of like the soft metals you're working on. So I would say by far that is the biggest secret that I've learned as far as restoring parts and trying to get them looking nice again. And that's gonna be the second step. Okay, so that took longer than I thought. You might have seen on the time lapse at a certain point I did throw my mask on and got my drill out with the wire wheels. The sandpaper was doing an okay job, but honestly it needed some more aggression, I guess you would call it. So here is what I've gotten done. I'm honestly happy with the results and how it came out. You can see obviously there is some like pitted rust spots here. It's like comes out as kind of like a black color. I do think I will paint over with the rust reformer over that stuff. All like the very loose surface rust has been removed, but at a certain point when you're grinding away at this stuff, you really start to wonder like if you're gonna grind through the pipe or not. And for anyone that doesn't know, if you've never bought parts for an Evo, things are getting expensive. Like that water pipe right there alone is $140. So if I start buying absolutely everything brand new, instead of trying to restore it myself, it will eventually add up pretty quick. I have been spoiled in the past working on newer cars where the parts aren't as rusty and they might not be as expensive yet. So I am gonna go ahead, put this guy aside. I will paint it later on in another video or later in this video. And I'm gonna jump back on going ahead and try and get some of these parts cleaned up. So I don't have like a parts cleaner or anything. I'm not bougie like that. I basically just have this like pad that's made for like shoes drying off that I just clean all my parts on. Another cool thing that I did get, which I was actually super surprised about, I got new spark plugs for the Evo. And I kind of figured like, you know, spark plugs for the Golf or for the STI, they're expensive for some reason. So I expected these to be expensive For some reason, they were only $2.50 per spark plug, like $2.50. So I was like really surprised by that. I really thought they were going to be super expensive, but they ended up not being. So that's kind of a cool thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just spray on some of this degreaser, let that sit for a little bit. Obviously, thermostat housings shouldn't have a bunch of grease on it, but like I said in the past, my valve cover was definitely a little messed up. So it was shooting oil all over this part. It's right there bolted next to it. But I am not going to be using the drill. I'm just going to go ahead and use a more gentle approach with wire brushes. And so I know that this type of content honestly is not very exciting, but in the future it is going to be a little more fun, because this is honestly just one of the parts you have to get done. It is boring. I don't like doing it. I don't like cleaning, but when I eventually do get the Evo up to where I want it, which still probably won't be where I want it, I think in the future eventually I will go ahead and pull the motor out and really restore the block, and parts that you can't really get to right now. But for right now, I really just want to be able to bring something other than my Golf to a car show. My kids have been seeing the Evo and the STI for a while now, and they'll ask like, oh, like when are we gonna use one of the other cars? When are we gonna be able to drive in one of the other cars? So I really want to try to go ahead and get this done so I can do that this summer and actually enjoy going to a car show in something other than my daily driver. This does seem to be doing a pretty good job removing all the grease. It is obviously pretty caked in there and pretty gross, like baked in. So it's giving me a little bit of trouble, but it is working like relatively well. I am running out of time this morning to be working on the car, so I probably will. I have an early day today at work, so I might come home and get dinner in the oven and start trying to get some of these parts done, knock this out, because honestly, once I can get this stuff all cleaned up, I'll be able to hopefully have gotten the new parts delivered, and then I'll be able to actually start installing parts instead of just taking them off and trying to refinish them. But I mean, even with just like a quick degreasing, you can already see this thing is looking a ton better than it was before. So I'm hoping that even if I leave it soaking in like a little bit of brake clean, when I come home, a lot of this dirt will be able to lift right up. Although I am starting to run a little bit low on brake clean with this car. But next time you see me, it'll probably be later in the day. You probably won't know the difference, but I will. Okay, so it is later in the day. I am home again, and I'm going to jump back on trying to restore these parts. This is what we're going to be working on. So I am going to be doing a lot of time lapsing from this point on and wire wheeling. We are going to try and run through the fuel rail, clean up the injectors, the throttle body, this bracket for sure because it's super rusty, and then I'm trying to kind of de-rust and oxidize this valve. But like I said, I'll probably throw it on a time lapse. So enjoy the time lapse and the lo-fi music that I'll most likely put with it, and let's get to cleaning. Okay, so as you may have noticed, I have done another wardrobe change just because I didn't feel like ruining a shirt that I actually cared about. I got a decent amount of stuff done off camera. It's really just super boring, grinding away, scrubbing, just trying to get things to look better. There's two piles that I've separated this into. I've got this pile here, which consists of the coolant reservoir elbow, the thermostat housing itself, the throttle body, and this EGR valve, which I guess will go like in the middle somewhere. So these guys, they weren't actually really rusty at all. It was really just a lot of grease and grime on them. So those guys I just kind of cleaned up with some brake clean, scrubbed them down. These are aluminum pieces and they do have a coating on them to help prevent rust. So if I were to go ahead and try to scrub off all that oxidized aluminum in order to try to make it look nicer, I would, like I said, be scrubbing off any kind of finish that it has in order to protect it. So those guys I just cleaned. This guy right here, it's sort of a weird case. I'm grinding away and it's getting down to bare metal, but there seems to be rust popping up. So this guy, I feel like I am gonna have to try to vinegar soak it or something to try to get rid of all this rust before I can then paint it. But these guys here we are gonna try to paint today. So I'm gonna go through, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and try to sand these all with the 800 grit sandpaper. This guy's already masked off. These two I'm gonna primer and paint. This guy I'm gonna try to hit just with the Rust-Oleum rust reformer, because like I said earlier, apparently it is not gonna work as well if there's no like real rust on the pipes. And these guys are decently clean. This guy actually still has surface rust, so I'm gonna try it on here and see how it works out. But let me get this set up to sand and I'll get that done. Okay, so we're all sanded, we got it all masked up, all the openings are all sealed off. These are all spots where there's gonna be hoses anyway, so I obviously am not gonna worry about painting those. So this guy right here is what I'm gonna start with on at least these 3 pieces. The other guy I'll probably do another video where I use the rust reformer, but for this guy, it says shake the can for 1 minute vigorously. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, and so for the final secret or trick or step in trying to make sure that the rust doesn't come back, it is a very important one, probably just right under preparation, and that's gonna be painting. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and try and hit it with 3 different coats of primer on the whole couple of pipes that I'm gonna work on, and then we're gonna wait, let that completely dry, and then we'll go back and put a 4th layer that will be the color coat. We'll do 2 layers of that. So for the primer, it's gonna be 10 minutes between each coat, then we'll wait 30 minutes, and then we will do the 2 color coats, and I'm not really sure actually how much time to do in between those ones, but we'll figure it out as we go. Okay, so somehow, I don't know how, I didn't record any of the priming. So I'm just gonna show you what I've done so far and run through it with you. So you can see here, this is the completely finished priming job. What I did was, like I said before, I did 3 coats on each side. I had to flip it obviously because it's not hanging. So I did 3 coats, just overlapping, spraying. It says 8 to 10 inches away you're supposed to do it. So these are now completely dry, both sides. So what I am gonna do is go ahead and start putting down a black coat on it. And so it's been 30 minutes now since I did the very last coat of this. So now I can go ahead and put that black coat down, and then I'll wait 30 minutes. I'll do 1 last coat and then it'll be good to go. And that'll be the finished product. So, just like I had done before, which you didn't see, I'm just gonna do some sweeping motions, try and do 1 nice coat, and then I'll have to wait 30 minutes to do the next one. Okay, so I got that done. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I am 100% not a painter. So I feel like I maybe put too much on there, but I don't really see any runs. So I guess here's to hoping that it turns out good, but I guess we'll find out in the future. Okay, so we finally finished. It was really an all-day affair. You can look, it's dark out now. So it really was an all-day affair, but I'm very, very happy that this is finally out of the way. This is something I haven't wanted to do. I haven't been looking forward to it, but the results, honestly, have been great. So I'm gonna show you right now. It's really hard to tell the results when it's on that mat, but so this is the finished product. I'm gonna say it looks so much better. I mean, I know that these pipes they're not originally or normally black, but it looks a million times better than it did, and at least I can know now that it is gonna be protected from rust. So honestly, I couldn't be happier with the results and how it turned out. I'm sure there's a couple of spots maybe I'll have to touch up, but honestly, super happy with the results. And now knowing that these parts will be nice and protected, I don't have to worry about them as much, and it's gonna look so much better in the engine bay. So honestly, it's been a long day of cleaning and restoring and painting parts. For me, those are the 3 best secret tips as far as how to make sure you get like an actually good final product out of it. But really, that's all I have. I'm tired of it for the day. I'm done with it, and so I guess that's all I got for this one. If you guys did like the video, if you enjoyed it, if you are gonna go paint yourself and you have any questions, leave it down in the comments, and make sure you do tell me what color should we paint the valve cover for the Evo. I'm genuinely curious to see what everyone has to say about it. But like I said, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, share. Make sure you tell all your friends about it, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. So until then, peace out and keep wrenching.